after possession after possession.
It's just the way the game goes sometimes. It felt like we could have that one. Had a performance from LeBron that was just incredible.
I mean, it was epic. This is LeBron James. That's who he is. It's like the best player in the world. To do what he did tonight and then come up robbed is just not right.
Well, you think T. Lue and LeBron were not happy after the game? What I'm about to show you is not going to make them any happier, that's for sure. The 2-minute report. I'm not sure if this is good or bad, but there is some accountability in the NBA. Durant, James, obviously this is the huge call in question they were both really upset about. LeBron said he had never read a play so right in his career. Ken Maurer called it a charge. The other official, Tony Brothers, called it a block. The NBA 2-minute report said that indeed the call was the correct call because LeBron was turning his body and moving into Durant when the contact occurred. So now you're in a situation where they basically said, replay showed LeBron James was not in a legal guarding position because he was turning his body and moving into Durant when contact occurred. Again, LeBron vehemently opposing this, saying he was well outside of the restricted area. Then we move on to this particular situation where LeBron is being held by Draymond Green. Eventually, LeBron would fire this ball to George Hill, and I think you know what happened after that. George would make one of two free throws. However, the 2-minute report said Green grabbing LeBron should have been called for a freedom of movement foul. That would have put LeBron at the line instead of George Hill. How different could the game have been with LeBron at the line instead of G. Hill? You never know. You know he made the first. And then obviously here on the second, look at Draymond Green already in the lane with a half a foot. But let's be honest, this is never called in any NBA regular season game, playoff or finals game. But you got to be obviously minute on the 2-minute report. Every little detail counts. If they would have called that, Hill would have taken yet another free throw and would have had a third chance, in a sense, to put the Cavs in front. None of that's going to make him feel better. SportsCenter's on the road at the finals. Dave McMenamin is our Cavs reporter. The one thing we didn't talk about there in the 2-minute report, there's so many things to talk about, Dave, is the Tristan Thompson ejection there in the last few seconds and what his status might be moving forward. What do you know about that?
Well, as much disappointment there was for the Cavs on Thursday night, on Friday they got some good news. No suspension for Kevin Love for being on the court when that altercation broke out. No suspension for Tristan Thompson for his role in pushing the basketball into Draymond Green after getting called for a flagrant 2 foul on Sean Livingston. His flagrant was downgraded to a flagrant 1. He was fined $25,000, and he will be eligible to play in Game 2.
Happy to be able to play. You know, the NBA got to do what they got to do in terms of finding. So at the end of the day, I want to be out there with my teammates, and I'll be able to do that Game 2. I did what I had to do in terms of, you know, speaking to the NBA and whatnot, but, you know, they made the right call by letting me play.
How does that affect you? I mean, do you think it's too much sometimes?
No, it doesn't affect me. It doesn't really bother me at all. Making himself look crazy. That's what makes it valuable to the Warriors in terms of bringing that toughness and that grit, so I don't blame him. Every team needs a guy like that.
When Tristan tells you to meet him outside, what's your reaction?
I can't meet him outside of here because I'll still get fined. But I can meet him in the streets any day. So, you know, you can say somebody meet you at the bus. I'm not. I keep taking care of my family, man. I can meet you at the bus. But, you know, the summers, you can meet anybody anywhere. So, all to meet me outside and meet me at the bus. Like, I ain't gonna give up no money for that. But, you know, if you want to see me somewhere else, that's fine. Anytime.
Tristan Thompson is one of just 6 players who have played in all 19 of the NBA Finals games between the Warriors and the Cavs over the last 4 years, including LeBron, JR, Steph Curry, and Sean Livingston, and Klay Thompson. Maybe that number will fall to 5 because Klay Thompson is dealing with a left leg injury heading into Game 2.
No question, Dave. We'll talk about his status here in just a moment. But before I let you go, obviously we've got to go back to the JR situation. It's going to be every piece of chatter until Game 2 tips off. I know you had an opportunity to talk with him. How did he change his explanation about what happened there in the final frantic seconds?
Yeah, so there's a video after Game 1 where LeBron's talking to JR, and JR appears to tell him, "I thought we were ahead." And so I asked JR today, did you tell LeBron I thought we were ahead? Because that is different than what you told reporters when you told us that I knew the score was tied. He said, I might have. I might have. Then he was pressed further about it. He said, you know what? I really can't be sure that I knew anything that was going on at the end of Game 1. Now, it's a tough quote to put out there, tough explanation. But he did say that, hey, I'm glad that I'm the guy who had to deal with this blunder versus any other of my teammates. I'm able to handle this. I'm equipped to handle it. I'm sure I'll bounce back. LeBron James called J.R. Smith the most resilient teammate he's ever played with.
No question about it. There is something to be said for personal accountability and culpability here. And J.R. is not running from it, even though we're not quite sure exactly what he means or what was said. That's our Dave McMenamin. We'll see him tomorrow night getting set for Game 2. Now, Dave did mention the situation with Klay Thompson as well. Let's run into that. This was the first quarter of the first game, and obviously this could have changed the entire complexion of the finals. Curry with kind of a wild pass, inadvertently fallen onto by J.R. Smith, like he doesn't have enough going on already. We're beating him up the entire second. And then he falls on Klay Thompson, clearly accidental. Lower left leg contusion, knee injury. 45 minutes, came back to score 24. Shelly Smith on his status.
Klay Thompson limped to the podium Saturday, still feeling pain in his leg and ankle from a collision in Game 1.
I'm going to do everything I possibly can to play tomorrow.
Nothing to keep you off court?
I don't know.
How's the pain today?
It's not good. The more I watch that replay, it pisses me off. It's just...
What was doing?
I don't know. That's a tough play on the ball. And then just to tumble into somebody's legs like that. You got to move past it, but it's life. And I'm going to be better from it. It's just a minor setback. But I don't think it was intentional.
Thompson is one of the most durable Warriors, having played in all 80 of the team's playoff games over the last 4 years. And it's the finals. He says nothing will keep him away.
The best player against the world gets the best team in the world. We'll see who'll be the best in the series.
I swear I've never been tested like this, but this is mine. It's not a matter of chance, just a matter of time.
Curry throws it up, Durant throws it down. James is 6 for 6 to open this NBA final. Golden State has responded with 8 straight points. Curry sets, fires, puts it up, bang! First half comes to an end in dramatic fashion.
The highest fall won't break me. The blood and sweat is what made me.
Green's going to line up a 3, and that one goes home. Curry for 3. Bang! Kevin Love from downtown. It's back to 1. Shot goes in for James. The lead for Cleveland.
Never look back. It's something standing in my way. I always push back.
They're changing it to a block. Feeling James was moving. George Hill, big free throws here. Rebound goes to the Cavs. J.R. Smith brings it back out. Hill shot blocked. And we'll go to overtime. J.R. Smith thought they had the lead. The Thompson corner 3. Puts it in. Golden State survives in overtime to take Game 1 of the NBA Finals.
I'ma get mine, just a matter of time.
Sports Center, LeBron and Mark playing nice for a change.
George Hill said yesterday that for him, Game 1 was the toughest loss in his entire career. How can you as a leader help lift a player like that who maybe hasn't been through it before?
Well, we both went through some of the same, emotions. It's one of the toughest losses I've had in my career as well. Just because everything that kind of went on with the game and the way we played, and obviously we all know what happened in the game. So it was a tough 24 hours. Not only for G Hill, but for myself, for our whole ball club, because we put ourselves in a great position to be successful. But like I said, give yourself a day. If you need to take 2 days, okay. But today you should feel excited about the opportunity to be better, and be great, and move forward.
So you heard LeBron say the tough 24 hours. That's where I want to start tonight with our NBA insider Brian Windhorst. Are the Cavs now moving ahead, focusing more on strategy for Game 2, Bri, or still the remnants of getting over the defeat from Game 1?
Zubin, they're really trying to still get over it. If you really watch the footage, and I went back and did, of the huddle at the end of the fourth quarter after the J.R. Smith blunder, it was a difficult moment for the Cavs. They were looking to LeBron to lead for leadership, and LeBron was really upset. And maybe they would have lost either way, but I don't think that they rallied out of that huddle the way that they needed to compete in that overtime. What's got to be different in game two, and what the Cavs are trying to get to, is to be different coming into the game two, as opposed to the way they were coming out of that huddle. And that's what they've been focusing on. They tried to take their mind off it with an easy day yesterday, no formal practice. Today they had a film session that they tried to start turning the page on, looking to strategy. But as you could hear from LeBron there, it's still something they're talking about quite a bit.
No question. You did mention some of the focus here on game two, so let's look ahead, even though they're continually looking back and trying to get over it. What are some of the things when we get to tomorrow night that they're going to have to do, focusing on the floor for game two?
Yeah, so one of the things that they're going to come out and try to do a little bit better is, get off to a better start defensively, which is always a big focus on them. They let Steph Curry get going early in that game, and that's always something that you don't want to do. But also they want to find a way to get better also in transition defense. The Warriors were able to get out and press in transition. The Cavs did very well on the boards in the game, but part of the reason is they weren't getting back on defense, so that's also going to be a factor. The Cavs went over those techniques behind me inside Oracle Arena in their practice this afternoon.
No question, and we should mention, I think, for a lot of Cavs fans out there, if you're wondering, the officials for an NBA Finals game are usually posted about 9 a.m. local time the day of the game. No explanation needed exactly on why we're mentioning that. I'm sure Brian will keep his eye on that, and so will Cavs Nation. We'll see Brian Windhorst tomorrow night with Van Pelt after the game with the greatest post-game.
After possession.
It's just the way the game goes sometimes. It felt like we could have that one. Had a performance from LeBron that was just incredible.
I mean, it was epic. This is LeBron James. That's who he is. That's why he's the best player in the world. To do what he did tonight and then come up robbed is just not right.
Now they can see us. But you didn't tell me we were going to do that. Meanwhile,
bring it on you.
Well, we're going to rehearse this later, but
okay. Back
to the NBA now. And teams, they typically focus on two things during the off days in between playoff games: adjustments to the X's and O's in game strategy, and treating any noteworthy injuries.
The Warriors had two against the Cavaliers, one coming into game one. The other happened early in game one. Klay Thompson went down after J.R. Smith slid hard into his left leg. He went to the locker room with what was called a bruised left leg that needed retaping. It looked really bad when it happened. But he was back on the court, start of the second quarter. He dropped 24 in the game, including 5 threes. Now, more on the injury bug with Shelley Smith.
Klay Thompson insists his pain tolerance is very high because his older brothers used to beat him up in the driveway. He was limping around the locker room after game one, in which he was run into in the first quarter by J.R. Smith. And he was still limping Friday slightly as he left the facility. I had my knee replaced and I offered him my cane. He laughed and said no, he'd be fine. Steve Kerr says he's an incredible physical specimen, and indeed, he is the only Warrior to play in all 80 playoff games over the last 4 years. As for Andre Iguodala, Kerr said he is still doubtful for game two.
All right, LeBron's had some issues in game ones in his Hall of Fame career in the NBA Finals. Remember when the AC broke back in 2014 against the Spurs, 90 degrees inside the arena?
It was some extreme conditions. I've never played in an NBA game like it was last night as far as the heat. It felt like the body failed me. So I was angry in the fact that, I couldn't help my team get over the hump.
So the Spurs won by 15 and won the series in 5 games, their 5th championship, avenging a loss to the Heat the year prior.
Next season, LeBron back with the Cavs. Overtime game 1 against the Warriors. Kyrie Irving suffers a freak injury, breaking his kneecap. Kyrie done for the series.
It's very tough to see. I see how hard he worked these last, 8 days just to get himself to play at this level tonight. And, see him walk out the locker room in crutches just now. It's a tough blow for our team.
Cavs lost game 1. LeBron averaged almost 36 points a game for the series, but without Irving and Kevin Love, the Warriors 1-6, their first title in 40 years.
All right, Jay, and then back Thursday night. 4.7 seconds to go, tie game. George Hill misses the free throw. J.R. Smith grabs the rebound, and for whatever reason, didn't know the score.
We got to move on. This game is over and done with. We got our opportunities. I would never give up on J.R. It's not my MO. I don't give up on any of my players, so any of my teammates.
Did you know if he knew the score?
LeBron not here for the nonsense. Scored 51 points in a losing effort. We'll see what happens Sunday night, Jay.
All right, Michael, for more, let's bring in our NBA analyst, Tim Legler. J.R. Smith, coming off that blunder in Game 1, how does he rebuild trust with LeBron and move forward and put all that behind him?
You know, it's a tough situation for him because he's not going to shed it, right? So he's got a lot of tattoos. He might get one more that just says 4.7 or something, game tied, whatever he wants, because he's going to wear it for the rest of his life. But I will tell you this, in that locker room, they're going to be people put their arms around him. And the one thing that they can remind themselves of is, let's go back to 2016 when they beat the Warriors and came back from 3-1. To me, the two critical games in that series, Game 3, they're down 2-0, 20 points for J.R. Smith. Came through on the biggest stage with that series basically on the line. They get down 3-0, not winning that series. And then Game 7, he chips in with 12 points, plays 40 minutes. So those teammates that were there to see that, they can remind him that we know you've been there for us before. And there, but for the grace of God, could have been any one of us the other night. Now, for LeBron James, it's inconceivable. You wouldn't know that the game was tied. But he can put that aside, and 48 hours helps. If they had to play tonight, I think they still might be emotionally some carryover. They got a whole nother day. They're going to come in tomorrow night with a huge chip on their shoulder, knowing that they played as well as they had to win a game, and there are certain things they did in that game that are going to continue throughout the series that gives them a chance to win, and particularly Sunday night. They came out there to get a split. They've got to forget what happened the other night. Focus on getting the one game that they thought they could get out there and make a Sunday. But for J.R. Smith, I think those teammates need to remind him, we remember what you did and what you have done for this team, particularly in big moments. We expect that again on Sunday night.
So the Warriors get the win. They escape. LeBron dropped 51. What's the biggest adjustment Golden State needs to make with that looming?
I just think be more selective with your switching. I understand you want to switch sometimes with LeBron James, but there are times that he's out on the floor a bit. You don't necessarily need to switch everything. Like, look where he is right now. He's 32, 33 feet out. He's not going to pull up and shoot that. If you're Kevin Durant or Klay Thompson, you have two opportunities to have a better defender on LeBron James. Go under the screen, meet him on the other side. Instead, he gets Curry and overwhelms him to the rim. Here, again, another example. He's 33 feet, 34 feet from the rim. KD can go under that screen if Steph Curry gets into J.R. Smith's hip, and KD can meet him on the other side, and you end up with more possessions where the defender you want is on LeBron James. Because what's happening now, Jay, is LeBron is coming down the floor, and this is modern basketball in the NBA. And the best players, they look over the court and they go, well, who do I want to guard me on this trip? Right. And they call that guy over to set a screen, and they get that guy. Houston did it to Steph Curry repeatedly in the Houston series. So for Golden State, I understand you're afraid of giving up the three-point shot on a pick and pop or something like that. I just think you've got to discern where is LeBron when the screen is set. If he's at the three-point line, that's a different story. Inside of that, clearly. 35 feet out, I think you can go underneath, meet him on the other side, keep Klay or Draymond or Iguodala whenever he plays, whoever you want on LeBron James. Keep Steph Curry off him as much as you can, because if they continue to do that, LeBron James is going to have more scoring nights. Maybe not 51, but he'll be in the 40s.
Tim Legler, always a pleasure.
Thanks, Jay.